Welcome into another edition of Spits and Suds. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan, and I'm joined by future Dallas Stars Hall of Famer Craig Ludwig for another year. Let's give it up, Luds. How are you, buddy?
Are you drinking early in the morning?
Man.
Future Hall of Famer. What does that mean?
Well, Stars Hall of Famer.
We already put a pin in that one, I think, last year. Also, we do have the Ed or Ken Hitchcock one coming up in a week or so.
Are you speaking?
I'm not going to be here.
Oh, no.
I know. I was with the guys last night at the game, and weekend prior to that, Matt Pachuck and Hatcher were in town. We did the Big Hearts celebrity charity fundraiser that we do, and they were both talking about coming back. As a matter of fact, Maddie was texting me this morning, wanted to know if I was going to be here, and I said, you know what? When I looked at my schedule for next weekend for our U18 team, and it said Colorado versus Dallas. And I'm thinking, oh, well, it doesn't say we're on the road or nothing like that. So we must be playing them here in Dallas. And I said, yeah, I'll be there. And then all of a sudden I looked at the Saturday one and it says Anaheim, California. Anyway, and we don't land until like 8 p.m. on Sunday. So I am going to miss the festivities. But I'm sure Eddie, and isn't it appropriate or maybe it's ironic that them two are going in together?
Yes.
The two lovebirds are going in together.
Yes. You were kind of like Switzerland in that relationship, correct?
Yeah. You know what? Hitch and I have a really good relationship. And at the time I didn't probably look at it as a really good relationship as a player, but I spent a lot of time in the office and things like that with Hitch, and in the mornings typically after games or before practice, and hey, this guy that, go talk to that guy kind of thing. And then a couple incidents happened, and I had to make a couple phone calls at different times, and to coaches. I usually, anytime I had an issue with anybody, or I shouldn't say issue, if there was a little speed bump somewhere along the way, I never really called Hitch first. I always called Wills. Rick Wilson was, a guy I've talked about a lot. I had Wills when I was in college, and then as a D coach, and then D coach in Dallas, and blah, blah, blah. So I've been around Wilson and his family for a long time, and his son Landon skates with us a couple times during the week. And anyway, I would usually kind of run my, whatever it may be through Wills first. And then it was like, you better call Hitch. I'm like, no, you tell Hitch. And so anyway, looking back, I actually glad I was in that position, because I learned a lot. And, you try to figure out you always think what makes a player tick, a teammate, I should say. But, when you get into different situations, then there's other ways that you probably handle things. So, but it is funny when I saw both their names, and I thought, somebody's doing this on purpose. So, but you know what's really, and I've said this for a lot, Hitch was the kind of coach that was hard. It's old school, right? It's not it's the Mike Babcock without, the Babcock little incident things. But what's really nice about it is when you go to a Hall of Fame event where a teammate or whoever has been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they have their, what do they get, 4, 5, 6 minutes or whatever for their speech. Madonna, Hull, Belfour, within a sentence or two, they bring up Hitch. About at the time you didn't realize how much they had an influence on your game and your play and a team concept and all that other kind of stuff. So, not everybody loves all their head coaches, and I'm not saying they love Hitch, but they respected him for the way he went about his business.
Can you do a video tribute or anything?
A what?
Can you do a video tribute since you won't be here?
I don't think they did. No, you know what? That when Hatch went in last year, and Gainey, which obviously were the appropriate two to kick off this whole new format that the Dallas Stars have done. Hatch had Matt Pachuck open up for him, and Bob had Doug Armstrong. So, two perfect guys to open up for two Hall of Fame guys. And so, those kind of things, I don't think you want to, you don't want to turn it into a sideshow kind of
Yeah,
thing. But,
roast.
and I think they try to keep it timely because, all the players are there. Or at least, you know what? I don't know. The guys are on the road for a while now, I think. I think they're actually on the road no,
Yes.
they're on the play. I think they play Saturday. This event is on next Sunday. So they will be in town. And that's probably why they may have scheduled it the way. I don't know 100% what's all happening. I mean, I know that they've got the artists and things like that set up for music, but last year was great. I mean, the whole team was there, the whole current Dallas Stars team. And so it was nice to see all those guys. And, then there's a lot of kids that are going, who's Bob Gainey? Who's Ed Belfour? So,
Yeah.
and it's nice how they did it. They put a player at every table and, so they can kind of chat with, us and whoever else is sitting at the table. So, no, I I don't think there's any video tributes in store, and it's supposed to be a PG event. So I'm the last person they would want to have to play some kind of video with Eddie.
Well, I hope you don't mind. And if you do, I don't care. I'm pushing for you to join that list. You need to go in.
Well, maybe there's a bartender's Hall of Fame or something like that I could get into.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so we're gonna take you inside of Craig and my world. So, Craig mentions artist. So the story goes like this, and Craig will tell one story, and then I'll tell another story. I got a random text from a lovely lady who happens to be in a relationship with Craig. And she said, "Hey, Gavin, how's it going? I would wondering if you had any connections to go to Pink at Globe Life." And I thought Craig was totally in on this and said, "If you want to go to that, you need to contact him. Here's the number." That was what I thought. So I went ahead and I was scrambling and I wanted to take care of my guy. So, and I didn't want my guy to necessarily be like in a crowd because I didn't think he was going to be totally happy to be there, but I wanted him to look like a rock star with his girl. So I set him up in a suite. The concert was canceled. And Craig apparently has a completely different story about this because I thought you knew about it the whole time.
Well, it's not completely different, but it didn't see Kim, and you're right. She's a lovely chick, and but she had brought it up. I got to admit that, but I never really thought. I mean, and she is very good on this stuff. She plans things in advance, and she'll tell me something about somebody's coming to town, some artist or whatever it may be, like 6-7 months prior. And I'm going, oh gosh, yeah, that'd be awesome. And to be completely honest, I mean, I've heard a couple Pink songs, so I'm not a fan. I guess when I think of her, I think of a lot of screaming young girls at a concert. Young girls. That's what I think. But again, I don't know everything, and and you're right. I'm not good in crowds. Like I don't want to be sitting next to a bunch of people and and then you kind of start talking and you can't hear anything anyways. And so anyway, we're up in Wisconsin and all of a sudden I don't remember exactly how it all went down. It was like, well, I got a hold of Gavin. I was like, Gavin. And I'm like, Gavin who?
That's so wrong.
I wasn't, you're not the first Gavin that comes to mind, but you're actually only one of two Gavins that I can think of that I actually even know. But at the time I wasn't thinking anything about it. And she just, I reached out to him about the Pink concert. And I was like, oh, and then ultimately it ends up where Gavin's got us hooked up. And then I'm like, awesome. And I'm thinking, and I must have motherfucked you for about an hour. Like, what did he do? And so, but I mean, I gotta admit, I'm happy for her because I know that she was really, really likes to go and see. I believe the name is Belinda Carlisle.
Oh, yeah, the Go-Go's.
And I don't think she actually put Belinda Carlisle on the vehicle in her car one day, and so I think we listened to 7 songs of Belinda Carlisle, which I do remember one of them. But anyway, she's all excited. And I'm thinking, okay, well, how am I going to get Gavin for this one? Now, again, I'm happy that you got I'll say us hooked up. And then she's like, well, and she goes, we're in a suite. I'm like, a suite? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a lot better. First off, I know I don't have to go far to get a beer. I mean, normally, there's some beer close by in a suite. And, it's not, 30,000 people. There's only 20 or 30, whatever in the suite. And then I think she said it was, it's going to be with, a bunch of, I think it was Ranger execs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So then she's telling me how good I have to be.
Yes.
Like, you can't say this. You can't say that. I got a list of things I can't do. I have a big, long can't do list. So now I'm sitting there, and then I'm like, and as the countdown's going, and, she's all excited, and I didn't know this because we had a tournament. Our U18s had a tournament in Dallas. So it all worked out perfectly for the concert and all this kind of stuff. And we have a game at 6:00, I believe it was. Oh no, we were doing the Big Hearts.
You were doing the tournament. Yeah,
that's right. And so we have a 5:00 all-star game going on. We play 3 to 4 games, whatever it was during the day, and then there's the people that raise the most money play against the alumni guys in a 5:00 game. And so Kim's getting out there early. We're not even driving together. She is going there. She's going to Uber. She's going to hitchhike. She's going to do whatever she's got to do to get there early, get up there so she doesn't miss Belinda Carlisle. And I have a buddy that owns a Big Apple Cafe, Joe. I called Joe up and I'm asking about parking. I said, Joe, I'm not going to be able to leave this game till 6:30 or so. I guarantee it's going to be a mess. Getting the ballpark, where can I park? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I going in for this game. I came out of the game. I'm getting ready. I'm undressing outside the car in the parking lot. I'm trying to put a pair of jeans on and stuff like that to get in the car and take off. Well, I get a text message from Joe and he goes, "You must be one happy motherfucker." And I'm like, huh? And so then he calls me and he goes, "You're happy, aren't you?" I said, "Happy?" I said, "No, Joe, I'm getting dressed. I'm going to go sit for an hour and a half in traffic, probably get out to the ballpark." He goes, "For what?" I said, "The Pink concert." He goes, "There is no concert." I'm like, "Yeah, good one." I said, "You don't have to rub it in." And he goes, "No, there is no concert. It's called off." And so I immediately got out of my car. Well, actually, I looked online or something like that. And then I noticed that Kim had sent me a message and it kind of had her little thing on there. And so anyway, I still do feel bad for her, but I guess she's going to be back here in a month or something like that.
November. So,
yes. Yeah. So we'll still be doing it, but this one here, at least we'll be able to go together and she won't have to Uber there 2 hours early by herself.
My friends at the Rangers were like, "Hey, do you think Craig would be okay talking with some people and, schmooze?" I'm like, absolutely. Yes, Craig is really good at that.
Did you warn him? Did you warn him how the conversations may go?
I told them that you would absolutely capture the room. And I did say the following based on taking you to a ball game. I was like, the only thing I ask, and I truly appreciate this, I was like, thank you so much for the tickets. If you could just make sure that the refrigerator stays stocked with beer. And they said, absolutely.
What you need to do is you need to take some of your own advice, because it seems to me
I know
when you invited Kim and I to go to the Rangers game, within 20 minutes, the 3 Miller Lights in the fridge were gone.
No, it wasn't 20 minutes. No,
there were no more.
I was busy talking with people and everything. And then I checked my phone because my phone went off and it just says 7th inning, no more beer. You're an awful host.
Well, we had to walk outside. The good news is the suite that I guess that's your company suite. Yeah. The one that we walk out the door, there's a bar right there. So
yes.
It wasn't that bad. So, but yeah, when you say have the fridge full of Miller Lite for them, I'm not sure. I don't know what Phil means to you. For full.
I just think it's hilarious that one side I'm like, I'm going to take care of Craig. Craig's the man, I really appreciate him partnering with me on this podcast and you're MFing me like I really thought I was doing you a heavy.
But this is how grateful I am for a guy going out of his way, getting her and I into into a suite and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, are there parking passes or what the hell? I'm trying to charter a helicopter because I'm thinking, oh my God, where do you park out here at this place? So then I find out, I said, I know there's that live place, the live bar out there. I wonder if you can just park there, go there early, have a few beers. I'm like, oh no, they still charge you $40 for parking there too. So they're not stupid out there.
No. All right. Transitioning to last night, 2 points to start the season. And boy, I have so many questions that I saw in last night's game and I was excited. I'm like, I got to ask Craig about. And the first thing I wanted to ask you is, yes, it was 2 points, but I think Pete DeBoer, you could tell after the game, I think they're going to go back to the table and talk about, getting out of the defensive zone. A lot of turnovers last night from both teams. And I thought St. Louis did a good job of coming at the Stars. But the first thing I wanted to ask you is that first game legs, because preseason, back when you played, I think it's kind of changed, and the goal is not to get injured and kind of work your way into game shape. What's that first game like, though? Is it like a completely different speed? Because I know you've talked about it. It's like preseason speed, regular season speed, and then rev it up because the playoffs are here.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd say it's a different speed, but there's 20 guys that are playing to win, and when you're playing preseason, and I don't really think it's different for a young kid preseason versus a veteran. Those guys are out there showing that they want to stay and that they belong to be on that opening night roster, and so but there's not 20 guys that are playing that way. You're for veterans, Ben, Sagan, Pavelski, guys like that, even Miro, Heiskanen. I mean, he's been in the league now, 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. Not to say that they're going through the motions, but the intensity is not the same. And then if you want to go ahead and compare it to like last night's game, and if you watched any of the games, the previous 2 nights, it's not midseason form.
Yeah.
They're still. I always think that anywhere between 5 and 10 games before actually they're up and getting closer to what they're going to be for the rest of the season. So but last night's game, it was a good game. I thought St. Louis is a kind of team that they're in. I guess what they're calling it now is a retool. So they're going to have a hard time, or they're going to be pushing for, a last spot as far as playoffs go, I think. But, the good news for Doug Armstrong, the general manager, and Craig Berube, I think their goalie played really well last night.
Yes, he did.
Really good. Jake Oettinger was really good. The 2 goalies were good.
Yep.
Bennington, had to make some really big saves, and he's probably upset with him on the Jamie Benn goal. Jamie comes around the back of the net, and, makes a smart play, and he's probably thinking, and I think for St. Louis, that's a question mark for them. What Bennington is, because we've seen with that goalie, when they don't win games and things start to go sideways for him, he loses his composure, and then he ends up being a distraction for that team, and he wants to fight guys and things like that. So, but we don't really have to worry about St. Louis. But I do think for Dallas, I was impressed with Lundqvist last night. I thought he played really well. He moves the puck well, and I think those are him and Harley, to me, are the areas that I would think that management and coaching staff are thinking that we need to see and need these players to be what we expect them to be now. Because, they're up front, the forwards, I think they know what they're getting there. The Matt Duchene experiment will be interesting as the year goes along. But I think Wyatt Johnson, to me, stands out from last night. And I think I stepped on Dodonov when he was first coming over here. He had been on like 3 or 4 teams in 5 years, and I thought he's been good since he stepped in here, and so he was good last night too. Again, so I think this team is 3 lines deep, and I think that is especially when it comes from an offensive standpoint. I think the question and the goaltending, as long as Jake stays healthy back there all year, and I think they need to manage his amount of games that he plays during the course of the season. So, he's ready to go at playoff time. But, more than likely you're looking at, as the season, gets down and into 10, 15 games left, I would assume it, probably going to be Colorado and Dallas jockeying for that, that top spot there.
Yeah, Doug Armstrong even said that when he was talking about the season preview. He said it's Dallas and Colorado, and we're hoping to hopefully fight for that third spot. So, I think that's cool that he said that, and shows how far this Stars team has come. I love the hustle of Ben on the just entering the zone on that first goal and that wraparound, and the composure. Just, Craig, that little extra seconds rather than we saw Wyatt Johnston almost do it to win the game, but unfortunately couldn't wrap that stick. But I noticed Jamie kind of pulled out a little bit with that stick and then flicked it on the wraparound. So I thought that was really cool. I did want to talk about the St. Louis tying goal from a defenseman perspective, because I see this a lot with Esa Lindell, and it was Hakanpää and Esa Lindell. Has it changed, and what were you talking about? What were you taught regarding, like, coming out, and you were one of the best shot blockers probably all time in the NHL? I mean, your shin guards were heading toward the NHL Hall of Fame if you allowed it. But there's that fine line between blocking a shot and blocking your goalie's view, and I thought Oettinger was screened on that. How, is it just a reaction thing where your job is just to block the shot?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a scramble play, and I think both him and it was Hakanpää and was that Esa? I think.
Yeah, it was Esa.
Yeah, and the game has changed a little bit there. Where back when we played, you wouldn't allow an opposing forward to set up in front of your goaltender, and that's changed a lot. Even on penalty killing, they kind of leave them there, and there's more emphasis on getting out into shot lanes and trying to block putts. And I think from a goaltender standpoint, it's more difficult on them, but they both kind of collided a little bit. So, you look at, and we're trying to teach our guys the same thing, is when you try to, a lot of young players, when they line up to block a shot, you're obviously looking at the player that's taking the shot, but so many young players will line up chest to chest. In other words, you're going to be right in front of them. Well, if you're a right-handed shot and I'm trying to block a shot, I got to be another foot to my left, not in front of the body. You've got to be in front of the shot where it's coming off the stick. And that's not to say that Hakanpää and Esa don't know that, but I thought they were both trying to get into a shooting lane. However, the puck gets back to the point, there's a big gap between the defenseman and the goaltender, and they've got a player that's in front, so they both kind of step out, if I remember right, and it almost looked, they didn't see each other. They're focused on getting in that shot lane, and they both do the same thing at the same time, and they kind of click shoulders, and so neither one of them ends up getting in the shot lane. But at the end of the day, I don't think that the coaching staff is going to look and go, man, you guys, that's not what you're supposed to do. I think what they'll do is they're going to look and see, why was the point guy wide open? Where were our other forwards? So, but we had those conversations with Eddie, and when Eddie first came over, he from Chicago, or the teams that he was prior to that, he came over, and it was he would make comments sometimes about, all of us, because we all did it. We all tried, we're just trying to keep the puck out of our net. But you have to eventually realize that there are some shots that aren't dangerous for goaltenders, from the perimeter and down by the hash marks and certain areas like that. And we had to kind of learn, we don't need to go down there. Eddie doesn't want us to go down, and really there is no reason to go down. So there's time and place. And that was the time for those guys to try to block a shot. So, but it happens, and I think that what'll happen during the course of the year, course of a goalie's career, he's going to thank the guys, that were shot blockers and saved a lot of goals. But that's kind of that's the yin and yang of trying to get your stick on pucks and block shots, is there's going to be the odd ones that go off a shin pad or go off your stick, but that's what we're taught to do. and you just kind of you have to take it. I mean, you take it with the position, you take it with the job that you're trying to do, and that was one of those seeing eye ones. And you're right, Jake. To me, Jake didn't see it since it left the stick. I think when those two guys, both of them at the same time, stepped out, he probably took Jake's sight line, from the guy releasing the shot, and being able to, to pick it up on the way in.
You mentioned Nils Lundkvist, and it was good to see him on that second power play unit last night. I like that change, and I like the confidence that they are giving him by putting him on that second power play unit.
Well, speaking of, yeah, I mean, well, because they need to. I mean, they need to find, a Klingberg. And again, he's not going to be Klingberg, and Klinger was really good on the power play. As a matter of fact, the other night in Toronto, he had a lot to do with the tying goal. So anyway, but he moves the puck well. He skates well. The issue for him, I think, is going to always be, how do you play defensively, and do you play defense? And from what I saw, I thought he was really good. I like the way he moves the puck, and he'll make the 8-10 foot passes. I think those young players, when they come up through their junior teams and minor wherever they're playing, and the talent level isn't the same as when you're in the NHL, and so they're allowed to get away with more because they can do more. And then all of a sudden they get to this level where everybody's supposed to be where they're supposed to be, and they're in the lanes, and they're a little bit quicker. Their sticks are a little bit better, and they try to make this move, and they'll go to the body. And where you thought you could step around a guy 2 years ago in your own age group, so that's an adjustment for them. So I mean, I hope that, they keep on playing him a lot. I mean, regular shift. And I think that's what happened to him last year. He was in the lineup, out of the lineup. I don't know if the trust was there, understandably, from the coaching staff. And I think they're saying, listen, we got to see what Harley and Lundkvist can be, because, I mean, last year it was that was my sore spot.
Mm-hmm.
As they were going through the playoffs, was the way that they were playing on their own end. And,
yep.
Miro, again, last night played probably, 26, 28 minutes again. And that's not going to change. But, man, he looks good too. Miro, I love this summer. He actually came out. I don't know how he said it, but he basically said he wants to win the Norris this year. And so, that's a confidence thing. He's such a quiet kid, but he wants to be recognized as the best defenseman in the league. So it's nice to see, guys like that, put themselves on notice.
Yeah, absolutely. Wanted to also ask you, because you made the journey on a few teams. When you join a team, how long does it take for you to feel completely confident that, like, okay, I feel good with this team?
I think it depends on the players. It depends on the group. When we here in Dallas, and when we were when I was in Montreal, and if anybody got traded, moved to our team, there was 10, 12, 13 guys that were right there to welcome you and make you feel like you've been there. I mean, I would drive out to the airport and pick guys up. I mean, even if I didn't know who they were, like Billy Heward. I remember when Huey got traded here. By the way, Huey's got a book out, and it's a good read. It's a very interesting need. But anyway, I didn't know who he was. I playing against him. You're like, geez, this is going to be great on our team. It was, another bigger, heavier Shane Sherla, and so Billy added the weight, and he was tough. And but you need those kind of guys. You need those kind of guys, and it makes it easy. So, when I went when I went to Minnesota, basically, leaving Montreal and stuff like that, it was easy because I knew some guys. That always makes it easier. And it was the team wasn't great at that time, and so everybody kind of was in the same pot together. But anyway, I really think trades are really. I remember when we got Hully, I was in Wisconsin, and I had never spoken to Hully before. With the exception of, an odd comment playing against him and things like that. As soon as I heard, I called one of our people that work upstairs, and I got Hully's number and just called him and, introduced myself and, hey man, we're looking forward to having you here and things like that. So I think that's what makes it easier on the player that gets traded, when somebody reaches out to him immediately. And I think that's a norm now. You always hear when a guy gets traded, he'll say, oh yeah, so-and-so, man, I had 7 guys texting me. Now they're not necessarily phone calls, but man, I had 12, 15 guys texting me. So I really think that trades are all about, your group that you currently have. And they make it, like you feel good. You're almost like looking forward to meeting the guy in person, meeting these guys that reached out to you.
Yeah, I think we talk a lot. Obviously, the names are there. Heiskanen and Jason Robertson and the household names that we mentioned. But at the same time, I think it was pretty evident that Rupe Hintz's absence certainly made a difference in last night's game.
Oh, for sure. There's no question. I mean, somebody else may ask me that last night up in the suite. We had a suite there last night too. And you know what? We had unlimited Miller Lite.
Okay, and the +1 didn't come my way.
Oh, +1. Yeah, I had my +1. Kim was there.
Oh,
She's with. Yeah, sorry, you're not jumping ahead of her for more reasons than one.
That's understandable. I will accept that.
No, it would. Sorry, I got off track here. Who are we talking about again? Who'd you want to? Who are you mumbling about?
I'm trying to even think. Rupe Hintz.
You were talking about Rupe
Hintz, yeah.
Yeah, you miss him. And that's not taking anything away from Tyler Seguin, who jumped in there. And I thought Tyler did a good job. Tyler, after last year, Tyler kind of got back healthy, and he was good last year, and I think he's going to be good again this year again. Yeah, Rupe with his speed, what Rupe does for whether it's Joe and Robo, I'm sure that when they get back, they'll be back together again. But what he does is he creates so much speed and space at the offensive blue line when he's the one that brings the puck into the zone, because as the defenseman, and like Miro, watch when Miro's moving up through the neutral zone. It's hard to stand up on them guys as a defenseman. So it creates a lot of space for Pavelski and Robo when they've got Rupe in the lineup. And so he's not afraid to take pucks to the net. He'll and he's flying. So it's a big hole. But I really look at Rupe. I don't know. I mean, it's the start of the season, but I think where he's come in the last few years and what you see him do, I mean, he's got to be in a conversation where he's in the top 5 to 10, forwards in the league.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, because I don't know. We can talk about Connor McDavid and McKinnon with their speed and everything that they do. And I'm not putting Rupe in that category yet, but when it comes to just flat out skating, Hintz is right there. And he's, he's got the puck. It's on his stick. So he's difficult to play against.
Yeah, absolutely. I threw this out last night. If you have any questions or comments towards Luds, and a few came in. Sam Green, thank you for supporting Spits and Suds. At Spamuel Green said, who did you feel?
Pink? Does he love pink?
You're going to pink when that thing's rescheduled. You're going to pink.
What, is it rescheduled?
It's going to be. I think it's November.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's around Thanksgiving. But I mean, is her cold over with? Does she have a cough anymore? Or is she good to go?
Yeah, no, she's playing again. Absolutely. And honestly, like I've seen highlights of her concert. It's like a show. It's very like Taylor Swift.
I had to YouTube it. Trust me, I YouTubed it one day just to see what I was going to be looking at. So, anyway, go ahead.
All right. Sam asked, who did you feel played to their level, and who were you surprised about with their play? I wouldn't say I was surprised at anyone, but I will say I did like the play of Sam Steele on that fourth line last night.
Yeah, you know what? Any of the young guys, that are going to be in line, they're going to give you everything that you can, right? And they're auditioning yet. So, and I think that there's a role there for him, and I'd like to see, I think weren't we all kind of high on Ty Dellandrea,
yes,
like a year or two ago, and I hope he gets another look. I mean, he was on that line last night with Jamie, and so. You need to have some youth in your lineup. You need to have those kind of guys that are hungry, and the most important part for those young guys, and these are just conversations the coaches are having with them, is they need to know their role. They need to know who they are, what they're expected to do. They understand, the kind of minutes that they're going to get a night. And, I think Steele probably had 10, 12 minutes last night, but that's kind of what you get. I mean, you get down on that. When you look at the lineup and you go through I actually thought I liked Craig Smith last night.
I did too.
Going from a young guy to an older guy. So,
yeah,
but they lost a player, in my opinion, exactly like him last year. And it seems like they replaced that. And I think that's a Jim Nill characteristic. Wants some veteran, wants guys that, know their roles, what they do, what they bring, and they bring it every single shift. So, yeah, I think Steele, Delandria. I know there was a couple guys, but when you look at this lineup, and if you're, there's a couple other, kids that were there, through the training camp and talked about at the end of last year. When you look at this lineup, you got to be wondering how are you going to crack that lineup right now?
Yeah.
So, and I will say this: your boy had a chance to end the game, Foxa, on his little move there in the third period that didn't pan out for him. But I'm gonna, if I just wonder, is there going to be, as this comes down the stretch, and Dallas is in the position that we think that they can be in, and you start getting to the deadline, what guys are you looking, that you can improve in what areas, So, and you see Roddick, at least for last night, was on that fourth line, that number 4 hole in the middle of the ice. So, it'll be interesting. And like I said, I have a different feeling about Foxa than you do, I think. But I think Roddick knows who he is, and from a face-off standpoint, that's kind of has to be his role. There were a couple times last night. What I like about it is he would go out in the defensive zone, he'd take the draw, he'd win the draw, and he'd come off the ice.
Yep.
So he's accepting, that role. He wasn't 60% on the face-offs, but it looks like they're trying to give him something to chew on, and if your minutes aren't going to be what you want them to be, he was probably in the same minute range, in 10 to 12 minutes, 13, whatever it may be. But if you can give him another role, even if it's on penalty kill and you're not going to kill, you got other guys that kill, but you go out there and win a face-off, get off the ice.
So, and Craig, I do want to clarify is that the player doesn't bother me as much as the salary, and I'm trying to separate that. I'm trying to improve in that area. I actually like Radek Foxa as a fourth-line center. I love the depth and that he can move down like that, and I really like the fourth line, and I like the depth of this Stars team where now they have the Duchesnes that can move up and Sagan can move up, and I just felt like really confident last night with the depth, and you have some kids in the minors as well that can come up. And so, I think this is one of the better depth teams since your cup runs as far as the Dallas Stars are concerned. But, that salary, and I would say the same thing about Marchment, Craig, is that's a very high salary for what I'm seeing on the ice as far as production. But I agree with you. He does a great job in the circle, and I like him on the defensive end, and I like him in that fourth line role. Honestly, I think Marchment should be on the fourth line at this point, but I think the salary will dictate a higher role. That's just
but
me.
You're blaming the wrong people. Don't blame the players.
No,
blame the management that gave them the money that
Correct.
You're upset with. Because do you want Fox to go? No, that's too much. I'm not worth that money. I'm getting $5 million. I think I only want 3.5. I mean, but then if a player did that, you wouldn't want him because now he's afraid of his salary.
Yes.
He's afraid to step out there and hold up his end of the bargain. So, and Marchment, listen, I think Marchment is when he came here, there were a few teams that wanted him because of what they saw, what he can do. And, he had that season was his breakout season. He got the points and he's a physical guy and he doesn't mind fighting and he can get in your face and all that other kind of stuff. Very similar to, the way his dad played. But what I'm saying is that was the going rate.
Yep.
If you wanted to put another piece in place on your team that you're building to be able to be a regular season team is one thing. Marchment should be a really good player when it comes to playoff time. Those are the kind of guys that kind of step up at the forefront and they lead by, playing a certain style. And but again, I think that it's the price you got to pay for doing business. And when you see a hole that you want to fill and you need a certain type of player, that's where it is.
Yeah.
So.
And I agree with you. Certainly the player has to take the money and, they have to make a living as well. And so, yes, I point the finger at management, but I also point the finger back at me because I would say the following is that the same person that might have overpaid for these guys underpaid for Matt Duchene, getting him and getting some good deals. And, we saw what Jim Nill did at the trade deadline, and I really like the makeup that Jim Nill has put together on this team, including Duchesne, because I think he's a Swiss Army knife of sorts. He's not going to be, as I mentioned with Sean the other day, it's not going to be the Ottawa Matt Duchesne. It's not going to be the early Colorado Matt Duchesne. But, I mean, the guy can still be a 20-goal scorer, can put up 50 points. But I loved him in the circle. I absolutely love that they put him out there for the shootout. I know it's based on percentage, but I love the confidence that Pete DeBoer said, you're really good at this, go. And I think that's, the players that they put out for the shootout last night, Craig, I was really confident with. That to me shows the depth of this Stars team where, you didn't have Jamie go, and I thought that was, pretty cool.
Well, do you think Jamie is a shootout kind of guy?
I think they were relying on Jamie in the past. I didn't think he was a shootout guy, but I think based on his status, he was being put out there. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's not in your normal three during the course of the year. Even.
He's like, yeah,
he's not in the leadoff three.
Right.
I can see it Wyatt Johnson, because he's got an unbelievable shot. But the three that they rolled out there, Tyler typically score. I mean, he's really good on shootouts. And Joe Pavelski was the one guy. I mean, we've seen Joe, do really well. So they've got, what I like about the Robertson thing though, is you can even see Binnington. I mean, all goalies got a book on all these guys on the shootout. They know who goes the most. They know what their go-to move is. For so long, it seems like Robo comes down. He comes down on the left side of the ice. He starts cutting the middle, and he just gets that puck off his stick as the goalie takes a step to his left, and he hits the 5-hole all the time. You watch Binnington last night. I was standing up there, and I'm going, he's going to hit the 5-hole again, and he didn't. He did the same thing that he did in a preseason game. He kind of gives it a wait, a look. Binnington drops his left pad to take away the 5-hole. Then he pulls it to his backhand and goes upstairs, on the far side. So I think what Robo has done is he's added another tool to that. And I mean, that's what the good ones do. They're going to go, okay, well, now all of a sudden I had one go-to move. Now I got two of them. And then he'll come up with something else, and I expect that to stay that way. But anyway, Duchesne, we'll see. And when you say Jim Nill did a great job in underpaying, that was all he was going to get. You know what I mean? Like that, Duchesne's been on a few teams. And so, and his game is where his game is at. And so that's his value at that particular time. Credit to Jim to say, you know what? We could pop him in here. And now all of a sudden we've got 3 offensive lines. And I think Jim is kind of going and saying, well, there's a couple different ways to defend. And, again, a little different from back in the day. And you had the Carbonell line that just went out and shut teams down, and they got frustrated and played in the right areas of the ice and were connected, blah, blah, blah. Now it's almost like we got 3 or more puck possession lines. And so we're going to defend. The best way to defend is when you got the puck, and maybe we don't have to go back and get it. So maybe that's what Jim's thinking, is he's a puck possession guy. He plays a little bit more east-west, through the neutral zone where, typically you're straight lines to try to get into the offensive zone. And I think that's the concept. Now, again, I will go back to what we saw last year, and I thought we had a good group of forwards last year. And my opinion, the holes were in the group of D, and that's why I think that those two guys, Lundqvist and Harley, if they can take the next step, you're talking about a legitimate team. I mean, I'd say right now Dallas is in the top, 6, 7, 8 teams in the league that have a chance. That's the thing this year. There's not a clear favorite. I don't think right now. Everybody doesn't seem to, for some reason, Carolina seems to be the big choice, and Vegas is down, down number 5, number 6, number 7, wherever they are. And I'm thinking they have the identical team. Yes. Now, it's not easy to repeat, right, today. I mean, that's the way it is, but they have the identical team, and they have a veteran team.
Yeah.
They have guys that know how to play at the right time of the year.
Yep.
So, and their decor, it appears to be healthy, and if they stay healthy, I just felt last year they had the best decor in the league. So, anyway, that,
I did want to ask you, as a defenseman, how much did you get to watch Liam Bichsel? And Sean and I were talking that the buzz, and probably too soon, but a lot of people were saying like this could be the quote unquote, we talk about trade acquisitions at the deadline, similar to what happened with Harley last year. Get him in Texas, get him used to, and continue the progress as far as the North American game. And he could be a late season call up to put on the playoff roster that gives you that size and physicality. Have you heard anything as far as the Bichsel hype, and what did you see?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
You serious?
I'm totally serious. 100%.
Okay.
You might as well ask me something about John Candy. I have no clue.
Big again, 6'5".
But I admit this. I am not the guy that looks at Connor Bedard. Okay, it's hard not to hear about Connor Bedard. It's hard not to tune in on night one and watch this kid play because he's the second coming of Gretzky and McDavid and blah, blah, blah. But it's the same way I am with college football. I'm not a huge college football, although I got to admit, I have not missed a Colorado game, and that's only because of Dion.
Mm-hmm.
I love that guy. I love how he motivates. I love his approach to everything. I liked him as a player, obviously. But I'm not into college football, and I have this argument with Kim. She loves college football, and she loves watching the kids. And I'm like, man, I want to see the end result. I want to see the pro player. So I want to see him polished and doing what he does. I don't want to see the mistakes and things like that. So that's why I don't get all about the preseason stuff. I don't even know I don't think I even watched the game. I did. I watched a couple that were on some channel, but for the most part, I do not know a ton of. Where is he right now?
Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's his name? Bill Bixby again?
Liam Bichsel.
Oh.
Okay. Bichsel, I believe.
All right. Well, you'll have to.
I will. I'll be your guy. Don't worry. I'll be your guy. I'll be your guy for pink tickets and minor league updates. How's that?
All right. Well, I'm gonna keep an eye on Leon now.
You should. All right. So Oettinger in the post game, and I don't know if this was just, but Brian Ray and your guy and a guy I love that appears on the Fan as well, Sevy. They were talking with Oettinger and asked him about research for the shootout, and Jake said basically he doesn't spend a lot of time on it. And they were both very surprised, and I was surprised because, like you said, Binnington, has the notebook and going over everything. Do you think that's just talk?
No, wait. I don't. I agree with Otter. I agree with him 100% because I think you can study. Sometimes there's just too much information. And do you get something in your head? I think Jake, listen, Jake is a great goaltender. He's big. He takes up a lot of net. He's quick when he needs to be quick. And I think he's probably I'm just assuming what he means by that is that I would just rather react. I don't want to know, like I just talked to Robertson. I don't want to know that's his go-to move because now I start looking for that. And then maybe I don't focus on just using my natural talent to make a save. And to be honest with you, I can't even tell you that Binnington has a book on him. But Jason Robertson isn't like some other player that's been in the league for 10 years. He was relatively new. And so I think when goaltenders like, I'm hearing about this Robertson kid in Dallas, all he's doing is a point per game over his first 3 years or whatever it is. So then maybe they watch a little bit more. So yeah, I understand where Ottinger's coming from. And I guess I played my whole career. The only reason I lasted as long as they did, because I'm a tendency guy, totally different. I don't have to keep the puck out of the net. But I was a tendency guy. So I stared at them boards and the players long enough because I needed an advantage because I wasn't, anywhere near as skilled as these guys were, but I could defend. But I knew what their first move was. I knew where they wanted to be on the ice. And the way I looked at it is I'm going to be there first. I want them to go to plan B because their plan A is really good. With Brett Hull, I knew where Hully wanted to shoot the puck from normally. And I wanted to be there and make him go do something different. Same thing with power plays. You look at a power play, I teach our guys, here's their number one play. We're going to take it away. There's only 4 of us. And it's not 5-on-5. We're going to take that number one play. They go to the same play 67% of the time when they're on the power play. Well, I'd rather have the other, 33% in my favor. So anyways, I try to get them to go to their 30% play versus their 67% play, if that makes any sense.
No, it does.
I can see how he looks at it too.
You know what? And that's why I love having you on the pod, because you give the players.
You notice how I did that quick math though?
You
from
did.
67 to 53.
All right. And finally, Blackout Dallas. We were in a conversation last night at Blackout Dallas. When did the Stars front office start talking to Jake Oettinger's agent about an extension? Want to lock him up before other teams can talk to him. Yeah. Well, they did
talking to Jake and his parents a year ago.
Yeah.
Jim Nill's been on the phone with his parents and letting them know. Yeah. Jim, trust me, they're going to get the right deal done.
Yes.
For both sides. But I don't think Robo's going to want to go anywhere else. Jim Nill doesn't want him going anywhere else. But everybody has to understand there's a salary cap. And can we tap the brakes a little bit? Mainly because hopefully for the players, damn players, that the salary cap is going to go up, $4 million possibly next year. So, when that happens, and I'm guessing that's part of the conversation. Can we do this? And for this year, can it be at this? And then we compensate them once the salary cap goes up, gives us a little more, room in our purse to do something. That would be my guess.
And in Oettinger's camp, right now, it's this year and it's next year, and then he becomes a restricted free agent, so the Stars still have control. So, from a cap perspective, I would guess that they probably really intensify the talks after this year, as he continues to progress. And we all know he's a top 5 goalie in the league, and then you get rid of that restricted, and that's when you can put the cut. But I agree with you, Craig. Salary cap says you got to keep that number at least for a couple of years, because they're tight against the cap anyway, and you need that cap flexibility, especially at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and sorry, I said Robertson. I said Robo, I think. But,
that's okay.
No, but you're right. I mean, and again, I think goalies are a little different, I think, when it comes to a general manager and doing contracts with them too soon. I think you kind of want to, he's a good goalie, right? And so is he a good goalie at the right times of the years? And, do we have a big enough sample size to say, you don't see a lot of goalies score or hit on 8-year deals, right? And so what are goalies typically done? I mean, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So I think you try to lock them up in their prime or get them through their prime years and then see where it goes from there. That would be difficult for me trying to do contracts with goalies. I just, how do you look at them from a standpoint of injuries and, and all these things that could go wrong because, most important position on the ice, let's make sure we're 100% sure. The saying is your goalie is 80% of your team, unless you don't have one, then it's 100%. So, you gotta make sure we're talking about Jake Oettinger here. So I don't think you're making a mistake by committing to him.
Yeah. And he loves it here, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good situation. I think, honestly, Stars fans need to focus on Wedgwood this year and make sure he stays healthy, because we don't want Oettinger to wear down.
That's right. Wedgie's got to play 20, 25 games.
Yep.
I mean, I think if you can keep, and again, just like Patrick Waugh, all the good goalies want to play. Patrick was playing 70 games a year. They all want to play that. It's different now. But the thing is the travel's better now too. It's not like it used to be. So, they have that in their favor. But I do think that if you could keep him somewhere around 60 games, and so that he's ready at the right time of the year. Like I said, I believe Dallas, and I think most people do, that Dallas is a playoff team. I don't know if you give him the kind of, like, Patrick would go in and he would tell the coaches what games he's going to play. He would circle the games on the calendar and tell them, here's my 6 games off. I'm not going to play against these guys, but I'm going to play against these guys. So I don't think that probably happens anymore, but that's where that was. So I just think you want to make sure all of your best players are ready at the right time of the year. And for goalie, like I said, you got to make sure, because I think there's a certain percentage of injuries that happen just because of fatigue.
Yeah.
And you don't want, and for goalies, if it's their knees or their groins or their abdomen, I mean, just think of all the body part, a shoulder thing, they linger. And, so you just got to make sure that they're not tired, and, they're not getting hurt because of playing too many games and not enough nights.
So I was looking at the calendar and the games last night, because I am going to resume each year. I like going on the road with the Stars and checking out a couple of games. And the road trip that has me kind of fascinated, Craig, is Vancouver, day off, then Seattle.
Are you thinking from a hockey standpoint, or are you got other things in mind?
Well, that's my second question. If I go to Montreal, if I drop your name, what does that get me?
We'll get you in the door at Chez Paris, and you probably ought to bring a body bag with you.
Okay.
Have you been
to Montreal?
Yeah.
When I was really, in my early 20s, I did. Yes. Loved it.
I was hoping you weren't going to say when you were really small. Yeah, I don't know how you can. Montreal, Toronto, the two, big market.
Yeah. That's another good one, because it's Buffalo and then Toronto.
Well, Buffalo's going to be an exciting team this year.
Yeah, and I could go see both.
That probably wouldn't have been a good pair to go to. I think Buffalo they've got to, if everything pans out for them and their young kids and everything that they're doing, they could be a playoff team this year. But I think it's going to be between them, Ottawa, and Detroit in that division. But anyway, I would do a Buffalo-Toronto trip, or you could do a Montreal-Toronto trip before I do a Seattle and Vancouver. When you go to Vancouver, it's going to be raining. So you better bring some money so you can go and gamble a little bit. Or there is a place called, one of them other kind of places you can go attend, which you probably do anyways. Seattle, I haven't been to the new building, but I'm sure it's a beautiful building. So, but that, again, you're on the rainy side of the state.
No,
so.
I know. I was just looking at trips. There was a random.
You don't care though, anyways. You're kind of a pasty guy, anyway. So it's not like you get outside and worry about being outside.
I'm not pasty. I just take good care of myself. I'm sticking with that.
Yeah, I'm not going there. Okay.
I tried the tanning bed once, and it didn't work out. I was dating a woman, and she's like, "You need to be more tan." So I went in the tanning bed, and I came out a lobster. It was really bad.
Does that come with the price tag? They tell you how tan you got to be too?
Yes. Yeah, when you know what? When you don't play 16 years in the NHL, sometimes you have to make some concessions.
You need to shop at a different store. Stay in the States. Stay in the States. Stay in Texas.
Stay in Texas.
The thing you're looking for is right here.
Well, I thought after I took care of you for Pink that you'd be like, "Oh, you know what? Let's take care of Gavin." But
I just did. Shop local. What's going overseas?
It's not. No. Don't go there. Oh my God! All right.
That's the advice I can give you today.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's great advice. I appreciate that. I could tell a story or two now, but I will hold that to off the air Craig Gavin discussion. So that's going to do it for Spits and Suds. Craig's a beast.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
We're only one in, and you're already saying thank God.
I know. What are we doing this monthly, or how are we doing this? Bi-monthly?
We do it whenever you want. And we love having you on the show. And
all right, well, I'll see. I'll look forward to the Christmas show then. That's good.
Yeah. All right, Stars with some time off. They'll be back at it again on Tuesday in Vegas. Should be a real nice early season test for the greatness of Craig Ludwig, put some pressure on the Stars. Future Hall of Famer Craig Ludwig, as far as the Stars are concerned. And I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan. And thank you so much for listening and supporting Spits and Suds. Have a great day, everyone.